But this was one that he made for his own studio, and this is a remarkable motion picture because it's so original, yet it's full of these amazing characters. And I think it started. You started seeing with this film what he cares about with the characters and the strong female characters, what you
Right.
see again and again in his
Almost in
films.
every movie, yeah.
Right, and caring for nature.
How did a guy who's now 65 years old, how did a 65-year-old man, so many young, strong female characters? Do we have any idea how that came about?
I don't know, but
yeah. It works for him.
it works for him.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to the first of my Studio Ghibli movie review marathon. For this marathon, I'm mostly gonna focus on Hayao Miyazaki's works. I know I'll be missing out other famous movies such as Grapes of Fireflies and Only Yesterday. So maybe in the near future, if I ever saw these movies, I'll do a review of them. And the first film that I'm gonna review is Nausicaä, Valley of the Wind. Now, this is not technically a Studio Ghibli's movie, but since this movie is made right before the foundation of Studio Ghibli, many people count it as one of the studio's first works. Another common mistake is that people always think that Nausicaä Valley of the Wind is the first film directed by Miyazaki. Not true. His first movie is actually The Castle of Cagliostro. It is funny that Mark Hamill, one of the voice cast in an interview, said Nausicaä was the first ever movie made by Miyazaki. The film is based on a manga written by Miyazaki himself, and the story takes place in a post-apocalyptic world in the far future. The story is about Princess Nausicaä of the peaceful country of the Valley of the Wind, who is embroiled in a conflict between the Tomicians, a warlike kingdom, and the giant insect that's been ruling the toxic forest for ages. The Tomicians, believing that their efforts is the best intention for all mankind, is building a secret weapons that are planning to eradicate all the giant insect, not knowing the severe consequences that will follow. For an animated movie made in 1980s, some of the animations look fantastic and they still hold up today. What I liked about this movie is the world building. We see people from different places, they have different cultures, different costumes, and also not to mention the different creatures that we see from the toxic forest. And not to mention all the battle scenes, especially the air battle, which has become a trait in all of the Miyazaki movies later on. The music composed by Joe Hisaishi is unfortunately okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the soundtrack in this movie, but it is not as memorable as, say, Princess Mononoke or Castle in the Sky. There were a lot of symphonies, yes, but there are times when the music was cut too drastically, or it sounded like a Nintendo video game. I think what makes this movie so great is the character Nausicaä. For me, I think she's one of the best princesses in animated history, or one of the best characters in anime history. She showed a lot of compassion, yet she has a lot of charisma and courage. And on the other hand, she showed a lot of human weaknesses, the vulnerability of a child and the frustration of everything that's going around her. For me, I felt like she's a really complete character. Special credit must be given to Alison Lohman, who did such a fantastic job that she made the character Nausicaä come alive onto the big screen. I think most of you will recognize her in the movie Matchstick Man with Nicolas Cage. There were surprisingly a huge amount of talented voice actors such as Sir Patrick Stewart, Uma Thurman, Mark Hamill, and of course Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, Shia LaBeouf, Transformers, and all these other stuff he was doing outside, but Back then, there was a time when Shia LaBeouf was a legitimately good actor. In fact, in this movie, I think he gave a really amazing performance. He showed a lot of emotions and is very likable. Still, Nausicaä dominates the center of the stage. Throughout the movie, we see things as she sees, we feel as she feels. She is so likable that throughout the movie, we always root for her. Which leads me to the biggest problem with this movie. The movie concentrates so much on Nausicaä that all these other characters were not very well developed, and there are tons of them. Miyazaki's movie had a tradition of not having a clear villain. In this movie, the only person that you could call a villain is Uma Thurman's character, which Miyazaki did make an effort to not make her to be your typical villain, but unfortunately it doesn't turn out well. At the beginning of the movie, she and her men literally killed Nausicaa's father and captured the Valley of the Wind. Halfway through, they tried to give you a reason for you to sympathize with her, but it didn't pay off well in the end. Not to mention, there are other characters in the movie who straight out acting like a dickhead throughout the entire film. The plot overall is very engaging, but I do felt like there are a lot of stories that not being told. For example, during the 1000 years, what exactly happened? Why are the kingdoms fighting each other? It was not explained. Since this movie is based on the manga, I felt like it would be better if it's made into a TV series rather than a feature-length movie. Or we can make it into 3 or 2 different movies, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so that more plot and characters can be developed. Also, without spoiling anything, there's one climax scene in Nausicaä that reminds me a lot of what happened in the first Pokemon movie. In the end, I loved Nausicaä, even with its flaws. This is the kind of movie where I can watch repeatedly. Just the main character alone made this movie worthwhile. This movie gets at least 8 out of 10 from me. Coming up next is an even better work from Miyazaki, and for me, it is one of the best anime movie I've ever seen. Okay guys, have you seen Nausicaä? What do you think of it? Please leave your comments below, and if you like it, subscribe to my channel, because if you think I'm good, you're pretty good too.